Hello, everyone. Cole here with our Selkirk United Church midweek message for Wednesday, February the 2nd, 2022. Thanks for tuning in. Wow, there's been a lot going on over the past 2 weeks since our last midweek message. A lot going on in the world, a lot going on in our own country, a lot going on in each of our lives too, I'm sure. Over the last 14 days, we've seen tensions rising in the Ukraine and really all around the world as we all wait to see what will happen next. There continues to be tension over COVID-19 all around the world, tension in hospitals where there never seems to be an end to new patients arriving into already overwhelmed systems in so many countries around the world, including our own. And also tensions around a growing sense of divisiveness over restrictions and mandates. All of this during a time when we're seeing the highest number of cases that we've ever seen and so many deaths. Just in the 2 weeks since our last midweek message, there have been 103 more deaths reported in Manitoba due to COVID-19. And in Canada, over that same 2-week period, 1,871 people have lost their lives because of the virus. It's hard to know what to think anymore. But God continues to call us to think, to ponder, to have compassion, to love, and to challenge, and to discern when it's the right moment for each of those different things. So for our message today, I've got a few things to share with you that hopefully will help us all as we ponder all of these things together. The first two are short but powerful quotes from a couple of theologians. First, from Rachel Held Evans, who was a brilliant American writer, speaker, theologian. Rachel passed away just a few years ago at the very young age of 37. She said, "If the world is watching, we might as well tell the truth. And the truth is, the church doesn't offer a cure. It doesn't offer a quick fix. The church offers death and resurrection. The church offers the messy, inconvenient, gut-wrenching, never-ending work of healing and reconciliation. The church offers grace. Anything else we try to peddle is snake oil. It's not the real thing." And the other quote comes from another American, the late William Sloane Coffin, who was a minister, author, and peace activist. He said, "There are those who prefer certainty to truth, those in church who put the purity of dogma ahead of the integrity of love. And what a distortion of the gospel it is to have limited sympathies and unlimited certainties, when the very reverse, to have limited certainties but unlimited sympathies, is not only more tolerant, but far more Christian. For who has known the mind of God?" asks Paul in Romans chapter 11, verse 34. And didn't Paul also insist that if we fail in love, we fail in all other things? Lots to ponder in those words from William Sloane Coffin and Rachel Held Evans. And finally today, some thoughts about the word ponder itself. This comes from a blog post from a minister from Kingston, Ontario, from a Christian Reformed church there. Her name is Heidi de Jong, and she talks about how we are called to ponder all of these things in our hearts. She uses the gospel passage from Luke, from the Christmas story about Mary pondering all that was happening in her life. Let me first read that passage to you from Luke chapter 2, verses 17 to 19. "When the shepherds had seen the baby, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart." De Jong goes on to say, "Mary pondered all the things." I love this little bit in Luke 2, she says. "In the blaze and rush of the traveling and the registering and the birth and the angels and the shepherds whose feet never seem to stop moving, Mary ponders." The Greek word for ponder, sumbalo, is used 4 other times in the New Testament. All 5 times it comes from Luke's pen. And in all the cases except for this one, sumbalo refers to at least 2 people meeting to confront each other or to have a conversation. Kings sumbalo each other in battle. Elders, experts of the law, and priests sumbalo with one another as they try to figure out what to do with Peter and John in the book of Acts. Epicurean and Stoic philosophers sumbalo with Paul when he is in Athens, also from the book of Acts. Mary's sumbalo is private and internal. She treasures up all the things that are happening, and she sumbalos them in her heart, ponders them. All the things live in the space inside her, and maybe they confront each other and have conversations there. Ronald Rolheiser, in his book Sacred Fire, reminds us that though the Gospel of Luke was written in Greek, when Mary ponders, she does so as a young Hebrew woman. Our Greek notion of pondering means to think really hard about something until we've thought it all through and maybe even figured it all out. But Rolheiser writes, this would be what the word would mean had the Gospels been written by Aristotle. But the Gospels, while written in Greek, are Hebrew thought. And there, pondering has a different, more existential connotation. Simply put, to ponder in the Hebrew sense meant to hold, to carry, to transform tension so as not to give it back in kind, knowing that whatever energies we do not transform, we will transmit. Rolheiser traces the pondering work of Mary to the cross of her son, who did his own holding, carrying, and transforming in his life and death. But back to Mary. When Mary was at the cross, she did not wail or fall down prostrate on the ground. She did not even speak. Instead, we simply read that she stood in John 19:25. She stood there near the cross, and in her standing, she was strong. Rolheiser puts these words in standing and pondering Mary's mouth. Today, says Mary, according to Rolheiser, I can't stop the crucifixion. Nobody can. Sometimes darkness will have its hour. But I can stop some of the hatred, bitterness, jealousy, and heartlessness that caused it by refusing to give it back in kind, by transforming negativity rather than retransmitting it, by swallowing hard in silence and eating the bitterness rather than giving it back in kind. Of course, there are all sorts of important caveats to be made here. There are times to wail and times to speak and times to protest. There are also seasons when we need to ponder in the Greekiest of ways, thinking something through until it's all been figured out. But as the world continues to fret and quake, as the coronavirus and its variants roll like the billows of the sea, I wonder about what it looks like to ponder in the Hebrewiest ways, holding, carrying, and transforming the tension around us. Then De Jong writes this, I think of my husband, she says. Tim is a numbers guy. He knows all the stats of the Michigan State Spartans men's basketball team backwards and forwards. They've just been ranked number 12 in the country. I asked him what his thoughts were on that number. He had so many thoughts. He loves to play online backgammon, and he knows the probabilities behind every roll. And in the evenings, he checks the COVID numbers for our city and the cities of our loved ones and does some math to make direct comparisons. At night, he ponders COVID in a Greeky way. But during the day, he goes to the hospital where he is a chaplain. Tim spends time at nurses' stations where staff look at him with exhausted eyes and wonder how they're going to make it through their shift. He enters rooms of people who have COVID, who are being isolated because they might have COVID, or who are very sick and can't see the people they love because of COVID restrictions and protocols. He listens to their stories, looks them in the eyes, and sometimes even wipes away their tears and noses. He ponders COVID in the Hebrew way. He holds, carries, and transforms the tension into empathy and love. It is heavy work. The English word ponder is connected to French and Latin words that mean to weigh or weight. Pondering is heavy work, pounds and pounds of it. But she says, my husband is strong, for every day he is held and carried and transformed by the Son of God, who is also the Son of Mary. Mary, the one who treasured up all the things and pondered them in her heart. That was from Heidi de Jong from Westside Fellowship Christian Reformed Church in Kingston, Ontario. So friends, let's continue to ponder all of these things in our hearts and in our minds so that our actions can be faithful ones, so that our words can be loving ones, so that we are, to the very best of our ability, continuing to be guided by our Creator God and by Jesus, who came to teach us the ways of God and the love of God. Until next time, be well, and blessings to you all. Bye for now.